welcome to the Good Vibrations Talkshow. Get ready for a vibrant dive into the world of infinite possibilities. Today, we're sitting down with the one and only Pam Grout, author, adventurer, and an all-round joy enthusiast. Pam's unique perspective on life, abundance, and how we create our own reality is nothing short of magical. Her work has inspired millions, including moi, to embrace their power, play with the universe. That's like one of my favorite things, play, and live with unshakable trust in the goodness of life. Now, I'm just going to mention a few before you come on, Pam. Not a few books, all the books you've written: E Squared, E Cubed, Think and Grow Rich, The Course of Miracles Experiment, Living Big, Jumpstart Your Metabolism, Art and Soul Reloaded, and The 100 Best Vacations to Enrich Your Life. Now, these are so amazing, and we're going to be focusing on Think and Grow Rich today because it's the one book that really touched me. They're all amazing, but this book, you're going to really enjoy listening to what we're going to speak about. And so buckle up, because this conversation is going to be bursting with energy, fun, and a whole lot of just manifesting magic. So, Pam.
Oh, thank you. Let's have a good time. I'm so happy to be here to talk to you.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here. So we're going to start with the questions, because I find when I ask you this question, it's going to mean so much to so many people, because it's going to bring the answers out of your own life. And this comes all out of your book. So to start with, the power of gratitude. You emphasize the transformational power of gratitude throughout your book. How did you first discover that practicing gratitude could be such a game changer in your life?
Well, I think a lot of people, are interested in spirituality. They're interested in manifesting. There's so many topics that gratitude figures into. And I think, the easiest way to find your deeper spiritual self is through gratitude. In fact, one of the biggest mistakes we humans make is we start complaining about everything. And because the power of our minds, the power of our thoughts are so powerful, that when we start complaining, we end up manifesting that, and then we just give ourselves more to complain about. So I feel like, when people go, oh, spirituality, it's just kind of a topic that seems so esoteric. But gratitude is something that people can really sink their teeth into. It's really deceivingly simple, and it's deceivingly powerful. People think, oh, gratitude. Yeah, right. I'll say thanks here and there for this or that. But it has the power to change your life. It changes your viewpoint. It changes everything. It changes your body. I mean, you name it, anything you want to change by focusing on gratitude, which is actually the truth of the world. I mean, what it does, it brings you closer to reality. So there's just not enough good things you can say about being grateful. It's effective for whatever, intention, whatever you would like to bring into your life. Gratitude is, I guess, the gateway drug.
I totally agree with you. And in moments, what I loved about your book, in moments where things just seem terrible, like terrible. And when I've read and you said, just focus and look at it in the sense of gratitude, it's like hitting the sweet spot, and you get so elated in a place of joy that the outcome lost its focus.
Yeah, that is a really good point. Well, like I said, by being in gratitude, you're the closest you can get in this human body to what it's like to be our spiritual self, because that
Yeah.
is truth. I mean, gratitude is truth. People think, oh, that it's the opposite of something, but we've created the opposite of that joyful, blissful state.
Mm.
And we have the power to do that. We're very powerful creators. So by believing in complaining and worrying and believing in scarcity and believing in there's not enough and I'm all alone, and just the typical human thoughts that we have, that collapses the wave in the quantum field. I see you talk a lot about quantum stuff. It really does cement in a particular life that we have now. But once you get into this other frequency where you start seeing all the good, all the beauty, it literally changes everything. I mean, it's alchemy at its finest.
I totally agree with you. I've seen my life completely shift, and it does not mean things don't go on, but it does not become your focus, and it's not a thing. And that I find makes such a difference. So,
Right.
yeah. So energy and frequency in chapter 21, the frequency hop, you mentioned that what you focus on expands. So can you share some practical tips for people who struggle with shifting their focus from negativity to positivity?
Well, one of the things, I'm a student of A Course in Miracles, and one of the things they say, it's not really hard to do these things. It's just so different than the way we're used to doing it. And
Mm,
so we're used to, we wake up in the morning and we hit our alarms like, oh, I didn't get enough sleep and I don't have enough time to get, we just start in on this scarcity mindset. But is that the truth about the world? When you really investigate, you realize that the world is extremely abundant, extremely friendly, extremely joyful and loving when you really investigate. But yes, you can create this other reality. And that's what, kind of the world we're seeing today. A lot of people have created the reality, but it's reality, but it's not true. It's not true.
mm,
The gratitude part, the joy and the peace and the love, and that's within us, no matter what we cover it up with. Like sometimes people will be so focused on how miserable they are that they're not aware of it. But the cool thing about it is it's still in there. It's just covered up by our complaints or by the walls that we build
mm.
with our judgments, with our, our concepts that we've created to cover up this truth of the world. And I don't even remember now what your exact question was. I hope I answered it.
Yes. One thing you said that really, I love what you just said. You said it's not difficult, it's different. And I find I'm
Yes.
going to just stay there for a bit because most people would say, yes, but it's difficult. And it makes a huge difference on the way you see life if you say, okay, it's not difficult anymore, it's different. So I'm not used to this. So when I come from that perspective and perception, it's not going to be difficult anymore.
And that's so powerful. That's one little difference in a word, but it makes a lot of difference in your life because we all kind of think, oh, it's difficult to meditate, or it's difficult to change my mind about things, or it's difficult to get out of the negative mindset. Well, as long as we believe it's difficult, that is creating it being difficult. I mean,
Mm,
that's the kind of power that we have. So just even saying something simple, like I remember now what you asked is what are some steps, but just even thinking that's easy, it's easy to change my mindset. I mean, you may not believe it in the beginning. In fact, more than likely, if you're living a human body, you don't believe it. We for so long believed how
mm,
difficult it is and how hard it is to contact spirit, how hard it is to name it, whatever it is you want. We believe that it's hard. Well, hey, we're powerful enough that we can create that. However, so a tip is just to continue to notice your thoughts. I mean, that's really what we can do. And our thoughts aren't necessarily wrong. They're just not who we really are. They're just something that covers up, the truth, the love, joy, whatever frequency that is there. It
mm.
just covers them up. So it's good to kind of look at them and shine light on them. Anything. And that's what gratitude does. It shines light on the world and it shines light on our complaints and our, you know, little reality that we think something's wrong with, you know. So
And when you speak about this light, it's like the light comes through when you in that state. It's more than just trying to be grateful. It's being gratitude. And that light that you speak of, it dissolves these shadows and the things, the perceptions that we used to have, and the fact that it's difficult. And it just brings forth that we really are. And that changes so much because the trying leaves. In the beginning, it might be, oh my gosh, how can I do this? And using understanding, like you just said, from difficult to different, huge.
huge. Yes, there's I don't know if you guys have this where you are, but we have a chain of stores. It's called Staples, I believe, or it might be called something else, but they have this little button. It's an easy button. And, I have one. All the people in my possibility posse, we have one. And so, you just hit this little button. It goes, that was easy. So anyway, it's just this silly little thing, but actually it sits right in my living room. And it's kind of good to remember that that was easy. And again, when you start focusing on how things are easy, and I think it's important to focus on how much help we have with this. I mean, when we try to do it alone, when we try to do it as separate beings, which we all feel like we're separate and everything's scarce,
Mhm.
but if we really recognize that we're connected to everything, we realize there's all kinds of help from the universe, whatever you want to call it, this energetic field is always there for us, wanting to interact with us, wanting to bless us, wanting to guide us. I mean, it's always there and it wants our attention. But, again, we tend to give it to other things. So, yeah.
Totally agree. I totally agree with you. And like you said, the universe or source is always saying yes. And as science, we know the brain is only tuned into yes. And whatever you produce out of your mind or out of spirit, it's going to say yes to whatever you bring forth. So we might as well go in the right direction and start having fun.
Exactly. Well, it's not that there's anything wrong with doing it the other
Mm.
way, but as you point out, it's not as much fun.
Yeah,
So
it
why
is.
not do things in a way that makes you feel as good as you possibly can? Because you have that control. You can do the woe is me thing. I mean, that's one of the channels, and there's nothing wrong with it. Nobody's going to smite you, from thunderbolts from hell or anything for being that way. But it just really, well, I guess because there is this other way to live, it's kind of beneath you, I guess you could say. To think like that is beneath us, beneath the
Mm,
truth of who we are. So
absolutely.
yes, to look for that joy in life. And again, the easy ways through gratitude. That's how we can find the truth and spirit and the truth of who we are.
And I love how you said, there's so much. There's so much in the spiritual world, and bring it into the playfulness. Ask questions. It's amazing how often we get answers. We just ask questions, and then you realize you're not alone. And in times where it's been really tough, where I was, in a place where I thought, oh my gosh, how is this outcome going to play out? I would ask, show me who I am in this situation. And then a voice would just come out of me, find the gold. And then the game is on.
Oh, I love that. I remember now you said something, but tell me more about that. I love that. Find the goal.
Yes, I actually said in the moment, I was sitting in my car and something happened, and I was really wondering about what on earth, like I know when you start living in this playful awareness, you know the truth, but when things really shake you, you go, okay, now it's an opportunity again, but to get to this peaceful state. And I really said, okay, how is this going to work? And this voice just said, find the gold. And then I had a dream, and it was rubble and gold together. And it came through like a portal, and it pushed out a gold house. And I was watching it from a position of looking into the dream. And it was such an answer that it just lifted everything. But that's part of the game, like part of playing.
Right.
Game.
That's beautiful. Yes, I remember now that you I was like, oh, I really, really like that story. And that's just one example of how much guidance is available that we tend to shut out. But so you asked for that and you were open to it. Being
Mm,
open, that's another big, huge, pointer on how to kind of live in this other state because once we think we know, I'm sure you've seen in what some of my work, if you've read it, my little thing about I know nothing, I know nothing. But that's okay. I mean, that's perfect
mhm.
because everything I know comes from that old mindset of there's not enough, life is hard. That's what we know. But there is another way of being. And the more I can let go of what I think I know, because what we know is all from the past. And right now, right this minute, it doesn't have to be a repeat of the past, except that we keep thinking we understand and we know and we're conditioned. So we just kind of live these conditioned lives. Like I said, it's not hard, it's just different than what we're used to.
I say it to some people, say if I dropped you on Earth today, would you know anything else? But it's awesome. Where did all this known come from? Like, bring it back to 0 point, whatever you experience, because there's only the present moment. And when one really starts living and understanding the present moment, there's only joy. There's no tomorrow or yesterday because it's actually still in the present moment. And it really, it's as you would call the party game. That's one of the party game approaches. I love that about you. I just love your approach, and um you present each chapter as a fun party game. And why did you decide to take such a playful approach to personal development, which I obviously love? And how do you think it enhances the experience for the reader?
Well, I think anything, if we want it to be sustainable, and we do, it has to be enjoyable and fun. And so it's just a little tweak. Like, for example, I actually mentioned to you that my first workshop, and I did use that word, you that word workshop, but I like to call the work I do when I'm in front of groups of people as play shops. And I feel like if we just play around with it, part of what happens is we take it so seriously, and there's a right way to do it. And oh my gosh, I've got to follow this step and then that step. And if you just play around with it, and if you approach it as a party game, which is why I called it a party game, because life can be a party. It's all
Yeah.
in how we choose to approach it. And you can make it fun. The hardest things that happen, there's always a little lightness to them. There's always something to be grateful for in them, always. And that's when we play around with that idea. That's when we find the gold. I love your thing, finding the gold. That's beautiful.
So, as we all know, we've been playing this game. I find you so inspirational. And so the reader or the viewers understand it's not that the mind, the known, won't fight you at times. It wants its way, it wants its known, it wants the path where it's walked. So just because we're sitting here and we're playing this game, it doesn't mean you don't have a couple of, it's like doing a couple of rounds. Like I call it like the computer game that you do a couple of levels before you get to level 8.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Yeah,
So I find sometimes you have to do the rounds and then when you get to level 10, you get to help the person on level 1. And
exactly.
uh,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
I find that
And I
so.
think that's kind of the natural thing. When you get there, it's just like there is this great secret. It shouldn't be a secret. I mean, it's the truth, but it's this great truth. Like you just want everybody to know because you just kind of love everybody, right? So it's like I want everyone to know this, what's beneath them. You know, I want them to know
Mhm.
about that gold because it's too good to just have for yourself. You want to share it. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, totally. So the field of infinite potentiality. In chapter 9, you talk about the field of infinite potentiality. How can someone start tapping into the field in their daily life to manifest more abundance and miracles? Because that's also, it's not like you said in the beginning, it's not about woo-ha, this, and you have to do this and that. I think it helps a lot of people. And I'm so for simplicity. And I think that's why you just my favorite author, is because it's all about simplicity. So, how would you what advice would you give somebody for their daily life to see this?
Well, I don't know how familiar your viewers are with my book. So, I mean, I can tell you a little bit about my very simple two AA 2.0 program. Would I mean, I've talked about that
Love,
so much.
yes,
I
I'd
don't
love
know if
you to.
your listeners already know about that, but it's a real simple thing. You've all heard of the 12-step program. The AA 12-step program. That's 12 steps. That's a lot of things to do. So I'm into making it easy. And so this little program I jokingly call it AA 2.0 because AA stands for amazingly awesome. But what it is, it's a real simple program. And it's really the first thing I say when I wake up in the morning is something amazingly awesome is going to happen to me today. And basically, it starts your day on a frequency where, wow, something really great's going to happen to me. I'm going to have a really good day. Because oftentimes, like I said, we wake up, we hit that alarm and, roll over. But if you
Mhm.
wake up excited, then it really can change the tenor of your day. And then the second step, again, this is all about smooth and easy. The second step is I have what I call a possibility posse. And every morning I text them 3 blessings that happened to me the day before. And, a lot of people talk about gratitude, but the thing that's unique about this, it has to be something different. So my
Mhm.
focus is in finding those 3 things. And actually, I could write a million things every day, but finding new things to be grateful for. So it puts you on just a path where you're first of all declaring that it's going to be a great day, and then secondly what you're focusing on is finding those great things, those blessings, those ongoing miracles that are happening. So that's basically my AA 2.0 program. And again, I've talked about this so much, but it's a really powerful program. And again, it's
Mhm.
deceptively simple, but it's really powerful. It changes everything. It has the power to change everything. And another thing I do, again, it's good to start out that way. Because, again, being a student of A Course in Miracles, you start out positive, and if you notice something slipping in that, you happen
Mm,
to catch a newscaster or whatever, and something slips in, what I like to do, and again, with Course in Miracles, we talk about the Holy Spirit, but again, that's that frequency, that quantum field, this help that is available to us. I simply ask, I said, help me to see this differently. I want to see this differently because right now I'm seeing it through my lens
yeah.
of perhaps limitation or it's difficult, that whole. So as everybody
Mhm.
notices that happening, I can just, hey, turn it over, say, hey, help me see this differently. So it's just real simple. And again, I like easy.
I love that. And I love what you said. Once again, ask. You in this situation, you don't try and make yourself see it differently. You're asking guidance because we're all part of source. We're all part of God. Like you said, it doesn't matter if you call God universe or you speak to Holy Spirit or you just say spirit or you say, it's all part of God. And we are those beautiful expressions of God. And there's a lady that wrote a book in 1930. I sometimes find these most wonderful authors, also from forever. I think she actually, there's no death, so everybody's included. And she actually said it's God's essence. There's no such thing. It's like when you live this, it's like being part of the piece of paper and not being separate from the piece of paper. The pictures are part of the paper, and being this one being and one with it, why would I then try and make life so difficult by trying to change things on my own? And I think the fact that you said the simplicity and what you do, for a lot of people, as you just said just now, it's difficult to be that simple. But today we're speaking about being different and staying simple.
Right. Well, see, that's really great. You caught yourself there, or you pointed out that yes, that's what we tend to do. We write it off, and oh, that's going to be difficult. We say that. Kind of pay attention to how often do we say that in a day? Oh, well, that's kind of hard. And even if you don't say it, you think that,
Mm,
Because how often do we say, oh, today's just going to be so easy. It's going to run so smoothly. I mean, that's just not something typical people do. So it's a little bit like Course in Miracles talks about retraining your mind. It's a course in retraining
mm,
your mind. But like it's very clear, it's in there. It's like you're retraining that you're basically like a sculptor getting rid of all the stuff that you've sort of trained your mind up until
yeah.
now to focus upon. And it's just to me, it's so exciting to know that it is there and it is our natural state. I love that, thinking that it is our natural state. I mean, that's we can't get rid of it no matter what we do, no matter what we say, it's going to be there. But we may not be paying attention to it. But hey, it's there, so why not pay attention to it?
And absolutely, I agree with you. And in so many ways, we use ourselves as a punching bag and we judge ourselves. And what you just said is so important to just be okay with everything. And if you did something and you quite not so feel so good about it, I always say to myself, hang on a sec, allow that to have been that way. Allow that to have been okay. Because you can't change it anywhere right now, but can you just allow it to be okay? So you go out and have a conversation, then you might say something and you think, oh my gosh, why did I say that? And then one thinks about it and it just takes so much energy to do that. And you're just not in the way, or what would you call it? The gratitude. If you had to be in your gratitude level that always is higher, that just doesn't help because you're judging yourself once again.
Right. I always say the two magic words are it's okay. It's okay because we do immediately start beating ourselves up. And if you kind of see thoughts as just like, sticks in a river, they're kind of going by. We tend to grab one out, and build a fort out of it. But really, if you just kind of let it go by and kind of enjoy, like, wow, that's an interesting thought. I don't have to, build a monument to it, but it's just kind of shining the light of awareness on it. Shining the light of awareness
Hmm.
will make it dissipate or recognize it doesn't have the power over the truth, that connection that we have to source, God, whatever synonym we want to use today.
But truth is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And truth is always, what does truth say? Let's just stay there for a while. If we say, what does truth say? Truth says life is peaceful, life is love, life is abundant, life is super abundant, because I love your words you use. It's ginormously blessed.
Yeah.
And that becomes your measure for whatever is showing up. So for me, it's when it's not that, what is it? What is truth? Truth is that. So dissolving, allowing love to just dissolve what doesn't look like that. I
Mhm.
found that is also a much easier way to not try and fix what happened, but to just bring it, like you just said, dissolve it in love.
Right, that's so powerful because we are taught, again, one of those lessons that we've learned is that it's really hard and you have to try really hard. And so if you just know that your natural state is the love and the peace, then by just focusing on that and not the other stuff, it can't continue to live. I mean, it lives by our attention. It's our attention to things other than the truth that create other than the truth. So yeah.
That's how powerful, like the focus just brings something alive. Let's just stay for a bit, just stay there for a bit. When we focus, and because we one with source, you are actually focusing all sources energy on something, and no matter what it is, it's going to multiply. It's going to say yes to you. So it's so powerful. And the more you live in this awareness, the more you're aware, hang on a sec, I just don't want to put that energy right there.
Right. But again, it's okay that you did, and let's move
Mm,
on and put my energy on something else, on the healing potion. Because the minute we do anything that might be out of alignment with source, the answer is right there. I mean, it
yeah.
really is. But we tend to think, oh no, and then we keep adding. It's like, putting bricks in a Lego tower. It's like, okay, and then you would just keep adding, 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 and then pretty soon the Lego tower's up here, and we can't see beyond. We can't feel
Mhm.
that connection to the thing that's moving through us, that source that's moving, that energy that's alive and joyful and beautiful.
In Buddhism, they have like a picture where you have the river flowing down, and then logs collect, and it creates a dam
Oh,
that
yeah.
rots. So it's basically the resistance that creates these little logs. And it's like you just said, it's not that you're fighting that, but to allow it to flow again, it's just by allowing that to go downstream, just to let it
Mhm,
release it, and
mhm.
allow that flow of who you are to really show up. So another question, you quote Goethe in chapter 18 saying, a man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. How can someone start shifting what they carry in their heart when they've been stuck in negative patterns for years?
Simple baby steps, really just start thinking of, even if well, I can't think, some people go, I can't think of anything to be grateful for. But the fact that you woke up this morning, I mean, you
Mm,
can start there. The fact that there's a beautiful sky, or even if it's a stormy sky, that's kind of interesting too. I mean, whatever. The fact that we are here, I mean, the odds of us even being here, having this consciousness are
yeah.
so long. And how did, we can't even understand, how did we in this galaxy, with all these bazillion galaxies, how did, I get to be here right now, and I get to think about things. I get to be conscious of things. I get to experience things. I mean, that's just a wonderful gift. And,
Mm,
back to the abundance question, and I talk about this a lot, if you just go out to any park or your front yard and just look at a square foot of grass or lawn, and there's so much abundance. How many pieces of grass are in there? Or a tree, how many leaves are on there? I mean, that is the natural state,
yeah.
abundance and regeneration. I'm really big into regeneration now too.
Mm,
We talk a lot about regenerative farming, or we're trying to get more and more regenerative farming. I don't know if that's a big thing in Germany, but it truly, that is the healing. The healing happens really fast when we don't block it. And regenerative soil, regenerative
mhm.
love, regenerative everything. And that's what's so cool about this force, this quantum field that we're connected to. That's all it's doing, is regenerating always, always. And we can block it, but we sure don't have to. We can hook into it.
Yeah, I think you mentioned in one the expansion of everything. There's always expansion, and if you say I know this, or I'm listening, but I know something, then you stop this beautiful expansion, because to know nothing is to expand, basically. Because you I think you actually mentioned in your book that you actually create the space to explore this adventure of life. And I love that you mentioned that. And I actually just forgot what I wanted to ask you based on what you were saying just now. But I'll get back to that.
Mhm.
Letting go of control in the dude abides principle. I also love how you just use the dude because everybody can relate. You
Yeah.
just trusting a higher power or the universe. How can someone practice letting go of control and trusting the process, especially when things seem to be going wrong?
Well, I mean, just again, small steps and just, okay, so let's say something seems to be going wrong. Well, what's one little thing that I can be grateful for here? Like, give me an example of something that, people might typically think is going wrong. Give me an example, and then we'll look to see where we can think of some things to be grateful for. I mean, just any
Sure.
example.
Okay, I spilled my milk this morning and I'm in a
Oh,
hurry. I fell over the chair in the kitchen.
right. I mean, and that's human, and we do that. I mean, you can go back as far as like, wow, I had milk to spill. There might be some people that didn't. I have a glass to put my milk in. I mean, you can really go for, I don't know how you spilled it. Maybe you have a carton, whatever, however your milk was. And I mean, that might seem a little silly, but it just puts you more. You talked about, which direction we're moving. And again, our
Mhm.
consciousness is always expanding and growing. And so we can move it back into the trap or into the cage, or we can move it into, the possibility. I talk a lot about infinite possibility. And I say, when we live in possibility state, there's so many exciting things that can happen, but most people tend to live in problem state. Everything's a problem to fix. And again, I love what you said about, trying to seek and trying to fix things. That's just that's pointless. That just traps you into more of the same. It's like not recognizing. I mean, anytime you're trying to fix something, you're not allowing the possibility that it's already healed, that it's already fixed. So fixing,
Mhm.
trying, that's all just being in a state that isn't as protected. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, like I said, but it's just not where I want to be. I mean, I'm not judging anybody else. Anybody else can choose to live in whatever world they want to. But
Yeah,
I, for one, would prefer to live in this kind of joyful, playful, happy world. So call me delusional. I mean, some people do, but it's a lot more fun than the
absolutely.
doom and gloom world. Yeah.
I also find speaking about that, one feels differently when you do actions out of a finite position. Your whole body feels contracted. You're trying to fix something. You don't feel good about it. There's all these indications that you're not being who you truly are as infinite. That's why it just doesn't feel so good. I think that's one of the true ways of when you're not feeling so good about something. It's a little nudge. It's a demand on your identity. It's nothing against you, but your nature is demanding that you see your infinite nature.
That's beautiful. I love that. I second what you just said. You're a very wise woman.
Okay. Thank you. Lot to do with you too. So yeah, and then it kind of feels strange and it just doesn't feel good. And when we choose something and we say, this is easy and I really live into it and I can feel expanded, then things just are easier because that is the truth. Like you said earlier, it's aligning with all that you are. And if you're going to be authentically you, it's going to be fun and it's irrelevant of what is happening. Now let's just speak about the external reality, which is actually in you too. So
Yes. Yeah, go ahead. Go
oh,
ahead.
no, go for it. I just want to say that for you to
Well,
expand.
okay. So I use this example, and I think this is a good way to say it. Like, you don't look in the mirror and go, oh, my lipstick smudged or my eyeshadow smudged, and then try to fix it on the mirror. I mean, nobody does that.
Yeah.
So we have to fix it where it actually is. And all outer things we see are a product of what we have in here. And that's really hard for people because they
Mhm.
think that they're a separate being and that they're separate from what's out there. And, as I get deeper and deeper in the Course in Miracles, I mean, it's like you have to be non compromising about that. Like it's easy to think, well, that's really happening out there, but in the end, it's all happening here. That's the connection that we have with other people, that we have with circumstances. And it's so much easier trying to change yourself or not trying again, but it's easier to shift
Yeah.
yourself than it is to shift out there. But what ends up happening is when you shift yourself, when you shift the inner state, the outer starts to change. And you don't even work on that out there because it's really you. It's you. All you're seeing is a
Mhm.
mirror of you. The Course in Miracles always says, we try to take what's in here and put it out there. I mean, that's what we do.
Mhm.
We don't want to say, well, that's not me. I didn't do that. I'm not whatever it is we're upset about. But and then you have no power, because if you think it's out there that something, you're a victim and somebody's doing something to you. And that's where gratitude can really help.
Yeah.
Because then you can be connected to the truth. So anyway, that's just, yeah, you've got to, it's all in here. It's all what comes in here. I mean, in this connection, this flow.
And then if we stay on this for a bit, as being one with all and all aspects also one with us, as you change that within you and it starts changing on the outside, it's a ripple effect in the whole world. So instead of running and trying to fix things from matter to matter, by changing yourself, you're healing the collective. And it's so
Yes,
profound. And that's why I like what you brought it up. Because, like you said, if you keep thinking, I need to fix something, and I don't know if you mentioned this, that if you go to Africa, and the thing was not that you go and help people and there's something wrong with that, but when you go with the attitude, poor people, you disempower who they are, and it's affecting those people in such a way that they never really know their true identity as well. So even with an attitude of being charitable, with the attitude that you go and help, it still affects everybody. It either empowers,
exactly. That is so powerful. It's like you're saying, by believing that somehow someone is needy, or believing that someone doesn't have what they need, doesn't have the connect, whatever it is you believe, that is really saying you don't have it. That is that connection. So everyone has access to this. Every person has access to abundance, to joy. Everyone. And that's what we want to draw from our brothers and sisters,
Mm.
from our fellow humans, because they're basically us. We're all one. Like you said, you're from South Africa. I love the Ubuntu. I mean, that is just such a great concept. And I don't know whether you learned that in school, or you learn it in your family, or whatever, but it's just such a beautiful concept. I am because we are. That's how I understand it. Is that how you would describe it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And because we are, it's powerful because,
Yes.
most of us didn't realize that when we, as you say, the way you see people, you're going to lock them into a trap, or like, especially with our family. Let's start with our family, because this is what I actually remembered before I was going to ask you something about that. Let's start at home. I always say to people, this is your boot camp. This is the best boot camp you could ever have.
Hmm.
So you mentioned in one Think and Grow, which you said people run off, but they don't understand the treasures that are in their backyard. And this is and the learning and the expansion that happens right here at home.
Right. That's such a beautiful concept, because it is all within us. And once you really figure that out, you have no need to seek for anything.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why? I mean, you can go somewhere because it's joyful, and but you don't have to, because it's all right here. And that we have so many treasures. And that's why gratitude, even gratitude for things about ourselves, and little things like, again, I have 5 fingers. Not everyone does. I mean, there's just so much but it's also, it gets you in an energy that starts flowing. And again, what we focus on expands. So as we start focusing on that, it becomes more and more apparent, all the things to be grateful for. I mean, it's just, and that's the thing. We believe a lot in finitude, in this culture. I'm talking about, like, there's limited things, but it's infinite. And that is a very powerful little switch to kind of see things as infinite, and more where that came from. And to really get into that reality. Again, this is the reality. This isn't something we're trying to manufacture or manifest. This is the reality.
I totally agree. And if I have to go back in relationships, and even
Oh,
turn
right.
relationships around to saying this relationship is for me. And I'm not saying I'm not saying when somebody hurts you or something, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about our general conflicts that we have in healthy relationships. And if you start, like I know you mention it quite often, just to use whatever, even in relationships, as for you to discover what's going on with you. What is my response? Am I still, is there something still connecting me to feeling disapprove or not worthy? And I always go with it and I go, whoa, that just brought up something in me. Ooh. And it's not like every day I go, oh, I can understand. I first want to beat my husband or my son, and then I realized, oh, that was a blackout. Let's go back to who I really am. It's like you
Hmm.
stand beside yourself. Okay, who was that?
Yeah, yeah. That's great. I mean, that really is great. That awareness is just,
Yeah.
very powerful. And really, our closest family, the people that we're with, they are our best teachers. So, I
Mm,
mean, and again, I love what you said. It is there for us. Everything's for us. We think, we try to pit ourselves against these forces, against these bad things that we do. That but recognizing that they're for us, and really when it all comes down to it, we created it. We created it. What you say, you called it boot camp? Yeah, so it's like we created this boot camp for our fun and joy, for our expansion. We're the creators. So how, and to recognize that we're not the victims, we're not the poor me people that have to deal with this. We're the creators of this really fun boot camp that we get to experience.
totally. And you think about it, the one day I was listening to this person that said, God creates this game. Source brings this game into existence. And while we're on the subject of game, and why would he not make it feel real? Because if you're not going to buy, I know I have men only in my house, and when they buy games, they have to be realistic. And when you go to a Marvel comic, I don't do certain comics. I love Marvel because of it's so well done and it's excellent. So then we come here and it feels real. It's 100% feels really real, and to then discover, oh my gosh, I can actually shift and I can actually change what I see is in front of me. And you speak of the hologram. So while we speak about this game that feels so realistic, it's supposed to feel realistic because no one is going to buy the fake one. I mean, God's not going to create fake games. We don't even like fake things. And then and part of that is this hologram. So to what would you, when you spoke about or when you write about holograms, it brings that kind of detachment from what is happening. And I love the way you brought in gratitude into it. So expand on that.
Well, again, the hologram, in a hologram, everything's included in every piece of the thing. That's what a hologram is. And so, if we want to just deal with what's right in front of us, that's enough. Like, oh, well, I need to go do this and change the world, or, whatever it is. But right here, sitting in front of me, whatever it might be, has the pieces, the energy of
Mm,
everything. So that is my responsibility. What is right in front of me, that's my responsibility. Nothing else. So because it is a hologram, it has the power to change things. But I mean, with quantum physics, it's just so weird. Like things change here and then they automatically change over there. But again, we're not thinking about changing or fixing. We're just thinking about dealing in the best way possible with what's
mm,
right in front of me, and always to see the gratitude and to see the gift in whatever it is always the best way, in my opinion. I mean, again, other people might want to do it the hard way, and that's their choice, but I prefer to do it the easy way.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think also the hologram, I love what you said. Everything is included there. And I can then choose because now I know doing it from a position of gratitude and the position of love is going to dissolve whatever perception I have of what's going on. And it's not that we don't sense fear or sense a feeling of feeling quite like you're stepping out and walking on water. It's supposed to, isn't it? Because that is your expansion.
Exactly. Yes. Very good point. If it was just easy, if we keep doing what we already know, we're going to stay in what we already do. I mean,
Yeah, and then it's far too boring, isn't it?
yeah,
Like the
it's
boy I
exciting.
mentioned
Yeah.
one day, one time, where he says, "You're gonna go to the next person and say, 'So what is your latest problem?' Oh, shame, you don't have one."
Well, that's kind of what we do in a sense. We don't say it in those many words, but it actually is kind of what we do, how we approach each other.
Absolutely. And I think it's also very difficult in many ways because people come together and when you become aware of being so happy and really wanting to focus on all the good stuff, you really start noticing that when people get together, they like to share their problems. They like to share their moments they nearly died. They like to share the things that nearly went wrong. You nearly this happened. And it is quite, that is where we were at, where we're shifting to share good stuff. Because when you start sharing really nice things, like they look at you and go, okay, are you real? So
Yeah.
I would like to ask you that. So you go into the world and like I know how you speak and I know what you like and I love that. But now you go and you're around at a dinner table and this is the type of conversation. How do you stay okay, you know who you are. So would you just release love into the conversation or what would you normally do when you think, okay, this is negative?
Well, I mean, I'm committed to bringing love into any situation. That is my intention.
Mm.
If sometimes it seems like there's not love, all I know is it's me not bringing, it's me making a judgment there. It's me um, not fulfilling my contract or whatever, with myself.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I guess, like you said, bringing love into it. But were you asking me like when people, oh, Pam, like, they'll roll their eyes, and go, sure, Pam. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that type where you're around people where they actually go, okay, well, they'll keep on sharing what they do, and it just seems like just typical what people actually call normal
Right,
platonic.
exactly. Yeah, it is what people call normal. But there's a question I'll sometimes ask when people get on the, oh, this is happening, that's happening. Say, well, what would you like to have? I mean, 'cause that opens up a little possibility, instead of saying this is what's happening, but what would you like? And to give some thought to what would you like to happen? Because just by acknowledging that there could be a different way. I mean, that's the Course in Miracles. There could be a different way. I could see peace
I
instead
love
of this.
that.
I could see love instead of this. But just acknowledging that, what would you like to happen? So that's a good question that I'll sometimes ask. And I have, these possibility processes, and we get together and we are committed to having the conversation of possibility because, as you point out, there's so many groups and
Mm.
people might think I'm nuts. I mean, and I don't care. I mean, my friend Anita Morjani, I don't know if you know who she is, but I love what she said one time. People start calling me crazy and I almost fall off my unicorn. So I love that. So I'll sometimes say something like that.
Yeah, I think it's also like I love what you said. You said, um, my true nature would not judge that, but ask that type of question because I love that. It's inviting a different perspective
Mhm.
without saying, oh my gosh, and you're well, here we go again. So part of who we are is to bring forth, to see the sparkles and the glitter.
Right.
What
And
you
we
do.
have that power. It's important to
Yeah.
remember we do have that power. We draw forth from in the course they call brothers and sisters, we draw forth from them what we have within us. So we can draw forth love. We can draw forth truth
Mm.
in people. But as long as we see them with that identity, then we're stuck in that box. So giving up identity, like you mentioned, like some people going to South Africa and thinking they're going to, help. I mean, I was very clear in my volunteer vacation, but you do not. I mean, it's like here's opportunities you can do, but go with an open mind because you're going to learn a lot more than anybody. Go to another country and see how they look at things. You're going to learn. You're going to open up. So don't go with the attitude that somehow so what the best thing you can do is to go with an open mind and to see the light in every single person, to see the love in every single person, because that is truth. That is what's there underneath this other viewpoint that we overlay reality with our complaints and our problems and our issues.
Yeah, so powerful. You talk a lot about abundance in the book, and I think most of your books, I think it's all the same kind of, abundance, gratitude, acceptance. What does living in abundance mean to you, and how can someone shift from scarcity mindset to abundance? Now, I know it's overlapping many ways where we speak about gratitude, but I'm sure you get that question quite often.
Well, here's one of the things, and if you like my book, Think and Grow Rich, I talk about this. Think and Grow Rich. It's not financial riches, although
Mhm.
that might come. There is this other capital, and that's what gratitude can do. It makes us aware of the true capital of well, I have adventure capital, I have social capital, spiritual capital,
Mm.
creative capital. Everything comes from creative capital. Those are the things that are worth living. Those are the things that are worth multiplying. And the other is just the old mindset that that's somehow more important. And we've been trained to think that that this we need to consume, and we something's wrong with us, so we need to buy all this stuff. So when you come from this other mindset of true abundance, you recognize something you don't like. Okay, I'll change it. I have that power. I have, it's nothing to complain about. It's like, okay, it's this other capital that we have, and the more we hook into that, and that's what the book's all about, is hooking into this other capital. That's the really important capital. Financial capital is what people think of, but this is a much more important, much more meaningful, much more true type of capital.
In the Bible, it says, seek first the kingdom of God, the kingdom within, and then everything shall be added unto you. And I find this is the cart before the horse. And when you really find this happiness in all things, it really is, that sums it up for what abundance actually is. You can't bring abundance into one area. And I think you speak about it in your book quite often. And that's why I recommend this book for everybody, because to take the shift from focusing on even thinking there's something wrong about your life. I mean, like you said, you've got food on the table. It's somehow become a phenomena that people watch social media, and they watch, and everything is being thrown in their face about what is lacking in their life. And when we come back to the true nature, the beauty that is everywhere, and it's not in whether how many duvet covers you have, or how many of this and how many of that, but to truly just appreciate. And I think in so many ways we start, like I'm in a place where I really am decluttering, and I want to have half the stuff I have, because I think you also mentioned it in your book, why do I have to have three juices that stand in the basement?
Right, exactly. That's what we're trained. There's this little the human manual that we get, as we come in, and this is our job here is to consume, our job is to create. And what true riches, true wealth to me is having the freedom of mind, the peace of mind to know that you can create, that you can bless, that you can be a part of humanity. That's true wealth. That's true capital. To use that word. I mean,
Mm.
that's what's important. And anybody, like we put certain people on pedestals, they've got billions and billions of dollars, which is what our culture trains us we're supposed to want. But you look at them, they're not always so happy. I mean, some of them, that has nothing to do with happiness. Happiness has to do with um true riches. And that's again what my book Think and Grow Rich is about.
Yeah, you mentioned in the book that whether you have 100 euros, like in Germany, it's euros, or you have 100,000 euros, or you have 3 billion euros, the stress is the same.
Hmm.
And that's what a
Exactly.
lot of people keep on projecting, that means they could be happier. Of course, it gives you the freedom to purchase, but it doesn't change that it can't be the other way around. I think someone also mentioned once it's like a pyramid, and the top has to be filled first. So the love, the peace, the joy, the gratitude has to be the foundation, and from that build anything. Otherwise, it kips, because you can buy everything and it just doesn't bring the satisfaction. So I'd rather have the true satisfaction and then to enjoy.
Hmm. Exactly, exactly. And that's our birthright.
Absolutely. It's our inheritance, isn't it?
Exactly.
We have all of this. I think it's such a wonderful way to wrap up. Especially, money is such a thing that people, it's gone so wild with how you manifest. And you started off that it's not true. It's not really about running after the 50 steps to how to manifest something. And I believe in a way, or I do believe with our mental capacity, we can manifest things totally. But you're going to either add sorrow to it, and I'd rather go the spirit way, which is the energy with understanding the fullness and the abundance, and that adds no sorrow. That is peace and joy.
Yes, for sure. Well, I love Peace Pilgrim, and I think I talk about her in Think and Grow Rich, but she said making money's easy or manifesting's easy. But what she gave to the world was, spreading peace, spreading joy. She walked with just the clothes on her back and just spread joy, spread love for service. And that is the true abundance. And anyway, she's like one of my heroes.
Yes, but I love that. I love that. It's
Yeah.
like Brother Lawrence, they would pick up a straw. Well, just
Oh,
I just melt when I just hear that everything, my whole body just
yes, that is so
vibrate.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Pam, what advice would you give those? Okay, obviously I'm going to share where everybody can get a hold of your books, or you can share that. But before we get into that, what advice could you give anybody that listened today in living this life of peace and joy and gratitude? I think we spoke a lot. You gave a lot of tips, but somebody is listening to that, what would you say to them? What last message would you like to give them? And not, it's probably not your last message, but I mean,
What is your very final word?
oh,
Well, I think, the book that became so successful, the Eastward book, it was all about just doing a little experiment. So I would suggest people, you might think this is a bunch of baloney. I mean, people maybe go, oh, right. I'm going to have gratitude. My life's going to change. You might think that. People could think that. So all I ask is just give it a try. Just do little experiments, start your morning on a note of gratitude, something amazingly awesome is going to happen to me today, or something extraordinarily epic, or whatever you want to say, start your day that way. And then just really spend some time appreciating and just watch what happens. So it's just a simple
mm,
experiment. You don't take my word for it. It's just try it for yourself. And that's where the rubber hits the road. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. Just try it in your own life and see what happens.
I think that's excellent advice because it's so simple.
Yeah.
So,
Again, that's my thing.
where could anybody get hold of you and your books, and where could they purchase it? Or do you have a YouTube channel?
I don't have YouTube or anything. If you know my name, I'm, pamgrout.com. I have a website and I have tons of free blog posts on there that talk about these topics. So they can go to pamgrout.com. On Facebook, Twitter, all those things, but I'm pretty easy to find. Just Google, put my name in, it's Pam Grout, and there I am.
I would wonder that somebody doesn't know you, especially in my circles. I've told everybody about you. So if they didn't know, and your books are even in German for those that are
They
what
are, yes.
those of my friends, you can actually get it in German, because a lot of times they ask me here, when are you going to speak German? When are you going to do something in German? And maybe one day. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here. It's been such a pleasure, and I really enjoyed having this chat with you.
Yes, I've enjoyed it too. Thank you so much for inviting me, and keep looking for the gold.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Yeah, very
Thank
happy
you.
about that.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everybody.